I would like to spend some time to talk about something that's near and dear to my heart, and that is the WNBA. Now, quick background on me. I was born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona. I have loved basketball for as long as I can remember, and I have been a Phoenix Suns fan since I was a little kid. Now, the WNBA came out in 1996, which was around when I was about 13. And leading up to the WNBA coming into fruition, I was actually a real big fan of Rebecca Lobo, and Rebecca Lobo played for UConn Huskies, and if I remember correctly, they had some insane record, like they won like 127 games and only lost one in like 4 years or something crazy like that. The exact numbers are fuzzy to me, but I just remember being a big fan of Rebecca Lobo, and then I was excited when I found out that they were creating the WNBA and that she was going to be able to play professionally. I was going to be able to continue to watch her play. Now, I watched the WNBA as a youngster. I won't say that I necessarily stopped following the product. I honestly, for quite a long time, stopped following just television and pop culture in general for a very long time. After I graduated from high school, I was a recording artist for quite a bit of time, and there is like a gap of like a good like 10 to 12 years where I can't really tell you what happened in the world outside of my music career. Now, as my music career started to die off, I started to get back into, just having a regular life and, following up the entertainment world and what was going on in the world. And I was still a fan of the Phoenix Suns. I want to say that was around the time when Steve Nash did when we had the 7 seconds or less team, and when we had Steve Nash was like a two-time MVP. It was around that time I started watching the NBA again. But then also over the course of that time, we have Diana Taurasi, who just recently retired and who is the LeBron James of WNBA basketball. And over the course of her career, she helped the Phoenix Mercury win like 3 championships. And that really helped, cement me being a fan of the WNBA, because me being born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona, I am definitely the type of person who I root for the home team. I'm not just going to hop on a bandwagon and like, oh, everyone likes the Lakers and the Lakers always win, so I'm with them, or all the Dallas Cowboys, just have this big name, so I'm going to follow the Dallas Cowboys. No, I root for the Phoenix Suns. I root for the Cardinals. I root for the Diamondbacks. I root for the Coyotes when the Coyotes was the thing out here. I always rooted for the home team, and so it was easy for me to fall in love and follow the WNBA because the Phoenix Mercury was the one show in town where we were actually winning championships. So I wanted to give you that background to show that I am not just some casual fan who follows the WNBA and has just recently joined watching the WNBA, as unfortunately a lot of fans have over the course of the past 2 years, as the meteoric rise of Caitlin Clark has impacted the WNBA in a positive way and in a negative way. Now, I want to unpack the season opener that just happened the other weekend, and it was a game that shattered ratings records, and it unfortunately reignited some long-standing tensions that are on the court and off the court. Now, Caitlin Clark, during that game, committed a flagrant foul on Angel Reese, and honestly, that hard foul, to really unpack this, we got to go deeper than women's basketball. We got to kind of dive into the history, the rivalry, and race and media bias, and just how all this just kind of culminates and come together as one for people to fully grasp and understand the nuance of this story, if you will. So, May 17th, 2025, the Indiana Fever beat the Chicago Sky 93-58. The show actually averaged 2.7 million viewers, which was the highest for any WNBA regular season game in the 25 years of its existence. The Indiana Fever looked great in their opener, especially since, they, over the past couple years, they've drafted Aaliyah Boston, who has been a great dominant center, someone who really can protect the paint and, get a bucket in the paint. Then, of course, last year they got Caitlin Clark, who I have always compared to, she's the WNBA's Steph Curry with just her charisma and her way to just knock down shots from ridiculous distances away from the rim and even being off balance and being able to hit that shot. Like, those are the two young players that the Indiana Fever have picked up over the past couple of years. And this offseason, they added some veterans as they picked up DeWanna Bonner, they picked up Natasha Howard, and they picked up Sophie Cunningham, which really helped to expand their rotation. And adding that on top of Caitlin Clark, who's an incredible performer, you now have the Indiana Fever being a team who looks like they could possibly go somewhere and maybe, be in title contention, if not this year, in the very near future. Now, in the opening game, Caitlin Clark put on another amazing performance, as she is known to do, and she actually recorded a triple-double. She had 20 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists, and this was actually only the third time in the Fever's history that someone had got a triple-double in a game. Now, the headlines weren't just her stat line. As I mentioned, they had 2.7 million viewers. People watched, on ABC, ESPN, and it was the largest regular season audience since 2000, back when around when the WNBA first started, taking off. And these peak ratings actually even outpaced Sunday night's baseball game between the Mets and the Yankees. Now, on the surface, this was a perfect opening night, but underneath all of that, the volatility and just kind of the unfortunate ugliness that follows Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese's rivalry kind of popped up and came to the forefront once again. So early in the third quarter, Angel Reese drove to the lane. She made contact with one of the players on the Fever. I want to say it was Howard, and she kind of pushed her from behind to try to clear some room so she can grab this offensive rebound. Caitlin Clark clearly was visibly upset. She pointed at the ref and she yelled over at the ref like, "Hey, you didn't call that foul." And then in a emotional reaction, Caitlin rotated lane, and then if you watch the clip back, she kind of stepped awkwardly as she was going in to try to foul Reese. I personally feel that she would have been more balanced if she stepped in with her left foot and then made contact with her right arm, but she kind of stepped in with her right foot and made contact with her right arm, which in all honesty, what it ended up doing was she ended up hitting Angel, I think, a lot harder than she intended to. I think she was purposely trying to foul her. It was a take foul, so, Angel wouldn't get an easy layup, but just the way she was off balance and her just honestly being emotional in that situation, she stepped in awkwardly, she rotated late, she hit Angel Reese, and she made real good contact and made Angel fall to the ground. As a result, Angel was pissed off. She got up, seething, cussing. Teammates rushed over to break it up. There was no punches or anything like that thrown, but it got tense, and it took quite a bit of time to kind of die everything down. It took a little bit for the Sky to calm Angel Reese down, and of course, this happened in the Indiana Fever's home arena. The crowd was ramped up and riled up, and of course, this is what the media then hyper-focused on, as this turned into another moment of online disagreements and media outlets having conversations that are all laced with racial undertones. So I want to step back a little again and take some time to kind of trace this moment back to its roots, because all of this started with their college rivalry, and there's there's some items that I don't think everyone quite remembers of how this turned into a racial situation between these two women. Like, a lot of people want to paint the picture that these two women hate each other and that there's some type of racial tension between the two of them. But quite honestly, a lot of this shit and how it turned into a racial situation to begin with actually didn't have anything directly, it wasn't the direct result of something that either of these two women did. So go back to March of 2023. It was Caitlin Clark's junior year at Iowa, and she was playing against Angel Reese in the Elite Eight, and Angel Reese at the time played for LSU. Now, Caitlin Clark, that was actually the year that she started to become famous because she was hitting these logo threes. She was doing the "you can't see me" taunts in everyone's face, and everyone was like, yo, who the fuck is this white girl that is just hitting all these damn shots and just confident, just does not give a fuck? Like, who is this person? Like, we all like started to fall in love with this college player that the great majority of us had never heard of. And Barstool Sports was one of them who really fell in love with Caitlin, and they started to do these stories on Caitlin, and they had these glowing headlines about Caitlin Clark's confidence is contagious and watch her ice cold step backs. And like, Barstool Sports like really got behind Caitlin Clark and was really starting to rock with her and really helping to put her name out there. Now, in this game, as LSU was in the process of closing out this game, LSU was in the lead. Did not really look like there was going to be a chance for Iowa to catch up. And so Angel Reese decided to show some gamemanship as well. And she did the "you can't see me" taunt to the crowd. And then she looked over directly at Caitlin Clark and she pointed at her ring finger, basically symbolizing that they were about to win the championship. That moment turned into something that will be forever etched in the history books of the rivalry between these two women. And Angel had stated, because after the game it kind of came up, they asked her about, the taunt, and she had stated how, throughout the whole season she kept being called too hood and too ghetto, but she didn't see like other players being held to the same standard. And she also was pissed off at Caitlin because earlier in the season there was a game that Caitlin played against a South Carolina player, and if I remember correctly, that player had pulled up in the wing like getting ready to like shoot a three, and then Caitlin like waved the woman off and like turned her back to her to like dare her to shoot that shot. And Angel Reese felt that was disrespectful, so she felt it was only right for her to get back at Caitlin and show the same type of do the same type of taunts that Caitlin had been doing with everyone else this whole fucking season. Angel Reese was like, I'm gonna get me some and I'm gonna hit her back with it. Now, some people in the media didn't agree. And Dave Portnoy, who is the Barstool's founder, who, like I said, was just part of the crew of people who helped really elevate just how great Caitlin was and just how amazingly confident she was and just, oh my God, this is so amazing, this thing that we're watching. He came out after Angel did that in that game, and he called Angel Reese a classless piece of shit. So Angel doing the same exact thing that Caitlin had been doing for the whole fucking season all of a sudden was classless when Angel did it. Now, Rice University had did a study later on, and there was like 7,000 tweets that were based around that gesture, and they did this analysis to kind of find like the key words of how they were being described. And basically, the people who talked about Caitlin Clark doing that taunt, they praised it and as being poised and competitive. But in the tweets about Angel Reese doing it, they talked about her arrogance, and honestly the backlash was racialized, and a lot of people on social media saw that, and they saw the difference in the reactions where it was like literally it's two different players doing the same exact thing, but it's great when Caitlin did it, and it was horrible and unsportsmanlike when Angel did it. Now, throughout their time throughout college, every time Caitlin Clark showed some cockiness, it was framed as confidence, and anytime Angel Reese showed some type of confidence, it was always viewed as unsportsmanlike. And the college rivalry, unfortunately, unfortunately morphed into this racial flashpoint that followed them over to the pros. Now, during Caitlin's rookie year, every time she was fouled hard, you would hear people criticize the players, claiming that they hated Caitlin and that they were out to hurt her. Many of the people like the backlash that they were putting at these women who they said were quote unquote hurting Caitlin and should be grateful that Caitlin was here doing this service for them to bring attention to their game. Quite honestly, a lot of them were black queer WNBA players that were getting the vitriol from the crowd and, you know, kind of being looked at as being too rough to this, you know, this delicate princess that is Caitlin. Now, it also personally to me, as I watch people, and I watch people like Stephen A. Smith do this too. So this isn't just the people who are on Twitter. This was actual people on ESPN. I saw them talk about how, they're going overboard with Caitlin and they're being too rough with her. And it really exposed how many of these people were actually casual fans of the WNBA because, quite frankly, any of us who have followed the WNBA for quite some time have always talked about how the WNBA is a much more physical game than the NBA. And for all those people who watch the NBA and they're like, oh man, I remember back in the 90s when, you know, when you could, you know, do hard fouls and you could, you know, play physical and everything wasn't a flagrant foul and all that. That is kind of similar to what the WNBA is. It, you know, they aren't throwing punches and beating each other up, but the WNBA, they play a very physical style of basketball. So for us who have been watching this for years on end, those fouls on Caitlin wasn't a trying to hurt her. It was a welcome to the WNBA. This is how we get down. Again, nothing aimed directly at her. If I remember correctly, during Candace Parker's rookie year, there was a physical altercation that happened in one of her games. Because same thing, she dominated when she was in college. She got to the WNBA. She was dominant there, and somebody was like, hey, I'm going to welcome you with a hard shot because that's what we do. This is how we haze these rookie players who come in who, you know, are being highlighted more than those of us who have been here for years. You know, we're going to haze you. We're going to initiate you and welcome you to the WNBA with some hard physical basketball. It was nothing personal against Caitlin. This is how the WNBA has been since its inception. Now, flash forward to today, going back to that game, and within hours of the conclusion of the game, there was some additional reports that came out that there were some racial slurs that were aimed at Angel Reese, and the WNBA swiftly issued a statement saying that the WNBA strongly condemns racism, hate, and discrimination in all forms. They stated that it has no place in their league or in society. They are aware of the allegations and they will be looking into the matter. Chicago Sky President Adam Fotts even echoed support for the probe, and the WNBA backed the investigation under the league's no space for hate policy. Now, Reese declared herself, Angel Reese after the game had said that it was an NBA play, that it was a basketball play, it was a hard foul, and the refs got it right. Caitlin afterwards, same thing, said that there was no malice behind it. It was just a hard take foul. They were just playing ball. That was it. But then as the days progressed, they kept trying to get a headline out of Angel Reese. They kept asking her additional questions. And eventually Angel's rep stepped in and said, there's no place for that. Going back to, the racial remarks, stating that there's no place for that in our game or society and that they'll trust the league to do what's right. So like Angel Reese initially talked about the basketball play, but then she was kind of hesitant about getting into the conversation about the racial comments because, again, just everything that this woman says, they are going to try to hang her for. So she's trying to, answer questions in interviews while also not being trapped into some type of clickbait headline. Now, all that happened, and one of the things that did come up was a lot of people were saying that Dave Portnoy, who was in the front row at the game with a Fevers jersey, and you can see after the flagrant foul when Angel Reese is at the free throw line shooting her free throws, you could see Dave standing and yelling something. And actually, if you listen to the clip, there is some weird noise that happens just before she shoots it. And some people are claiming that it was monkey noises being made at her. And some people think that that was Dave in the front row making these monkey noises at Angel. Now, the following day, Dave wanted to, I guess you could say, clear his name. And so he provided us with this sound clip.
All right, so can't believe I'm making this video. I was at Caitlin Clark's opener, triple-double, won a shit ton of money. All great day. Today, I see online, starting last night, just salty trolls, and I don't even know, actually, that they're Chicago Sky fans. I think they're just trolls. They're just people who hate Caitlin Clark. They're trolls, and they're like, of course, the Indiana Fever are making, like, monkey sounds and other racist sounds at Angel Reese, which is total garbage, totally made up. I've seen clips of people putting sounds with me when I'm yelling. I'm going, ball don't lie to Angel when she missed the first free throw of the tech because that was such a garbage call. I was yelling at the ref at one point, like, that's a cop-out flagrant, ref, and you know it because that was not a flagrant foul on Caitlin Clark. Anyways, long story short, today, just trolls who hate Caitlin, who hate the Fever, like, oh, Fever fans again, the same rhetoric, which I've never found to be true, that Indiana Fever fans and Caitlin fans are somehow racist and all this. Listen, I was at the game. If there was somebody being racist or saying shit, obviously boot him, never let him back. I would be stunned beyond belief if that was the case. This crowd, I've sat on the wood for a million games, been in a million environments. The crowd at the Fever game, little girls, families, ladies, nice crowd. Was it loud?
So apparently, if you have little girls and families in the audience, it's impossible for racism to happen. That's what I got from that. Oh, Dave. Now, Caitlin Clark's meteoric rise has honestly drawn a lot of comparisons to Larry Bird in the 70s and 80s. You look at Caitlin, you look at Larry Bird, and both of them were white homegrown stars from the Middle West who are dominating in this predominantly black sport. But unlike the 1980s, fans nowadays share every clip. And they have access to social media, all these different social media sites. So every slur, every hot take, we are going to see in real time. And especially in today's world, if you will, in America, with the current administration that we have, and with this, with a lot of these platforms being aligned with right-wing people who want to amplify free speech by allowing racist comments to be made. You know, you have the situation on Twitter where you had a whole bunch of people who were deemed as white supremacists who were allowed back on the platform, and you see the N-word, hard R, damn near every single day on Twitter. But if you say cisgender, that is going to be flagged as a slur. Like, just a lot of things have changed on social media over the course of the past year. And so we are really starting to see a lot of this racial rhetoric happening on social media in real time. And it's something that more than likely, you know, if there was social media back then during the Larry Bird era, probably would have seen it back then. I know I've heard people talk about the way that Larry Bird was described back then. I was super young, so I didn't really get to see the Bird versus Magic rivalry. But from what I have heard about it and read about it, it does seem very similar to this quote-unquote rivalry between Caitlin and between Angel Reese. And now for those who say that this is an actual rivalry between the two of them in the sense that their skill level isn't the same, I am going to say, and I've said it before and I'm going to continue to say, that Caitlin Clark is one-on-one. She's a generational talent. And am sick and tired of this whole, like, Angel Reese is a is a good basketball player. Is she great? No, but she's a good basketball player. And actually, let me take that back, because Angel Reese is a great defensive player, and she is a great rebounder. She has broken all kinds of records with rebounding. And I know a lot of people want to bring up the whole, because again, it's these casual fans who are actually not watching the game, but they just see the clips online that the algorithm, feeds them, and they do this whole thing where it's like, oh, well, Angel Reese, went up for a layup and then she missed it, and she got her own rebound and she put it back up and then she got her own rebound, and oh my God, she got like 4 or 5 rebounds within 20 seconds. And for one, yeah, that's kind of fucking dope that she is able to get that many rebounds, because if it was that fucking simple, somebody else would do it, right? If it was just as simple as just getting a rebound, she wouldn't be dominating the way that she would be doing. Other people would be able to clear her out of the way and grab those fucking rebounds. But it also takes away from, you can go back and you can watch clips of Moses Malone, and there are clips of him back in the day having a hard time finishing at the rim, getting his own rebound, because he's just so long and so athletic. He can get the rebounds over everyone else and put it back up. And Dennis Rodman, there's highlights. I remember watching Rodman, and Rodman wasn't the greatest scorer, and Rodman would go up and he'd get a rebound, and sometimes he'd kick it out, sometimes he'd go back up. And like, again, it's these critiques of Angel Reese that I do feel are not as I don't know. I don't feel they're as necessary as a lot of people would feel. And again, I think a lot of it comes down to the people who are just casual watchers and who are not actually watching the game, but then just reacting to the clips that they see online. Now, this opens up the door, and this begs the question, why is Caitlin Clark's fan base like this? Why specifically Caitlin Clark? Because you have rising star Paige Beckers, who was the #1 draft pick for the Dallas Wings this year. She hits logo free threes. She has a large social media following. She is also incredibly charismatic, but she hasn't faced the same vitriol. And I think the reason to that is kind of twofold. So, one, Paige Beckers was introduced to a lot of us in her famous 2021 ESPYs award speech, when her speech was mostly centered around praising black women who came before her and how they paved the way for her. And a lot of casual people were unaware of Paige Beckers, and that incredible speech was their introduction to Paige. As opposed to when you look over at Caitlin Clark has talked about her privilege. She has stated that black female athletes deserve all the credit. She did a 2025 interview with David Letterman on his Netflix series, My Next Guest Needs No Introduction. And so she has, spoken out against, the racism, and talked about her privilege, and, celebrated black women and all that. But I think the difference with her is that those conversations happened years after Caitlin had became famous. And whether, she did this purposely or not, her platform on social media and her name and her name recognition has benefited a lot from white supremacists supporting her. And so it's one of those things where maybe if in the beginning, when this first happened, if college, if she came out immediately and said something about it, maybe, that could have helped, put out some of the flames in the very beginning, but that is not the case. She got famous, and she kind of waited a while before she finally said something about this situation. Now, another point why I think that the same fan base or the same narratives are not, surrounding Paige is, I also think a lot of it has to do with Paige doesn't have a black arch nemesis on the national stage. I will go as far as much as people love Caitlin Clark, we cannot ignore the fact that there's a large group of people who are cheering for her success. and could care less about women's sports. They just don't like Angel Reese. And much like how Dave said earlier, oh, I think a lot of these people just hate Caitlyn, and they're not actually Chicago Sky fans. I think the same can be said for a large amount of Caitlyn Clark fans. And these are specifically, I'm not talking about the people who subscribe to WNBA League Pass. I'm not talking specifically about the people who go to the games. I'm talking about the people online who chances are they do not follow the sport, but they just see that this white woman, this black woman are compared to each other, and a lot of this energy that they're putting out there isn't necessarily that they love Caitlyn Clark. It's just that they hate Angel Reese, and then they're using that energy to propel Caitlyn to the next level, if you will. Now, with all that, we got to kind of bring it all together and ask what's next. And the WNBA is doing their investigation. It's supposed to conclude soon. The league has promised that they will do some type of swift action under its no space for hate policy. But I do have to ask the question, do we honestly think that anything will actually happen? And I'm not trying to be a pessimist, but I'm asking a genuine question, because the WNBA was founded back in 1996, nearly 30 years ago, and currently right now the W is at the height of its success. And a lot of this, unfortunately, is due to the engagement from Caitlyn Clark, this great white hope, and the racial tension that comes between her success and her matchups with Angel Reese. And so whether we like it or not, that hate has carried on over to the WNBA and has helped to make the WNBA name trend, which has garnered and caught the attention of some other casual people who are starting to tune into this product. And that's part of the reason why, again, going back to this game, 2.7 million viewers, that, the proof is in the pudding that there are more eyes on the product now than, ever before. And, it with that success coming over, it puts the W in a very tricky situation of how do you tackle this problem? You risk alienating some of these newfound fans. If you go too hard on some of these fans and turn this into a racial issue, you are going to receive some type of backlash about, oh, look at this. Because honestly, again, at the end of the day, quite frankly, this is a women's league, and we see how America looks at women. I would say a lot of these women are also queer women, and we see how America looks at queer women. And then a lot of these women are black women who are confident, and we see how America views confident black women. So the W is kind of in a lose-lose situation if they go too hard on these white Christian nationalists, honestly, these white supremacists who are saying a bunch of racial shit. If they go at them too hard, it may impact their viewership, unfortunately. Now, only time will tell, but as a fan of women's basketball, I honestly, in my heart of hearts, I hope that this league decides to do what is right as opposed to what is profitable, but only time will tell. So, I am going to continue to support the WNBA. I'm a subscriber to League Pass. I have been for a couple years now. I'm a fan of Angel Reese. I'm a fan of Caitlyn Clark. I'm still continue to wish these women success, and I just hope at some point we could figure out a way to stop this madness, because it is very difficult to turn on the TV. Or excuse me, not even turn on the TV, but watch these games and then try to get online to just try to engage in commentary about just, you want to chit chat with people about how great, the game is and this and that. But every time you hop on social media and you see Caitlyn Clark's name, unfortunately there's going to be some racist shit tied to it. And I would love to ask Caitlyn to, kind of stand up and say something, but she said something before, and if it didn't work before, is it gonna work now? What can she do? Does every week do we need her to have a press conference and denounce white supremacy? I don't know. And And I don't know. I wish that, I could button this whole thing up and say that this is the definitive thing that you do, and you do this one thing and it fixes everything, and then things will be all butterflies and rainbows and unicorns after this. And I don't know what the answer is. And, we will just kind of see. And as the Indiana Fever continue to rise and do their thing, we'll continue to see how their fan base is. Honestly, I've seen some of the issues too with, I mentioned that Sophie Cunningham is over there now. Sophie Cunningham played for the Phoenix Mercury for quite a few years, and there's a lot of rumors and speculation around Sophie being MAGA. I don't think she ever publicly came out and supported Donald Trump, but there has been some instances of some things that she has liked on Twitter and some things that she has retweeted. I remember one of the more recent ones was actually during that last Olympics when there was that biological woman who won that boxing match, and then all the right-wing people went on this whole rant trying to say that she was trans, and that whole debacle that happened. And Sophie Cunningham was one of the people that retweeted that also in support of people calling her trans and saying that we can't have men fight women in in boxing and all this. And so I don't know. It's a mess, but the WNBA definitely has to figure out something. Caitlin Clark has to figure out something, because at the end of the day, I would say if I am Caitlin Clark, yes, you want to continue to build your legacy. You want to win championships. You want to focus on basketball, but you also have to realize that there is some ugliness attached to your name, and you need to figure out a way to stop that ugliness and get that away from your legacy before, when your career is over, there's a large group of people who cannot put you on that pedestal the way that you should be put as a incredible basketball player, because unfortunately your name is synonymous with white supremacy. So just something for her to, think about. I mean, is she going to hear this podcast? Probably not, but I'm speaking this out into the ether, into the universe, and maybe she'll hear this in her soul, and then hopefully we can figure out some way to kind of pave a way forward. Now, I guess final thoughts in all of this too is that, again, a lot of these people are being very racist, and a lot of this commentary and a lot of the things that they're doing. And of course, a lot of these people don't view a lot of their dog whistles and a lot of the way that they stigmatize Angel for certain things that they celebrate Caitlyn for. I think it goes down to, quite honestly, a lot of white people in particular don't truly understand exactly what white supremacy and what racism is.
People don't think they're racist because white people don't understand racism fundamentally. White people think that to be racist, you have to be out hate criming. You have to explicitly be saying you don't like XYZ minority group. You have to be saying you think white people are better. And this level of binary thinking is extremely comfortable for white people because most white people aren't out hate criming. Most racist people aren't out hate criming or explicitly saying they hate minority groups. It's a little bit more subtle for most racist people. Obviously, there are some people who do say that, but that is the exception, not the rule. This goes for both sides of the aisle. Like during the election, people kept saying, not everyone who voted for him is racist, but all the racist people did vote for him. Completely incorrect. Reverse that. Everyone who voted for him is racist. You cannot vote for that without being racist. However, not all racist people voted for him. And that is harmful to say because that perpetuates this narrative of or this trope of, I have a black friend, I can't be racist. I voted for Kamala Harris, I can't be racist. I vote for the people who support the minorities. I'm obviously not racist, and I don't need to do any further work to prove that. Sophia Coppola is obviously conservative, and conservative racism is a little bit more explicit, but they don't think it's wrong, and they don't think they're racist because they know that racism is a bad word. That's bad, and racism is wrong, so I'm not racist. I don't hate minority groups. I just don't think that inequality is an issue. I just don't think it's wrong. I just don't think microaggressions exist. Right? That's not racist. That's just how they frame their world, and that's comfortable for them. And if there's anything white people cannot give up, it's comfort. Do not make white people uncomfortable. Oh my God. Oh my God. And that goes for the left too. I personally have to work every single day to deconstruct systemic racism within myself, within the people around me, within the world that I exist in the context, right? And I have to be constantly thinking about that because racism is so deeply embedded in our society, in our psyches. But a lot of white people on the left don't feel the need to do that because they're doing their part. They're not voting for racism, so they're not racist. If they don't learn about microaggressions, then they don't have to acknowledge that they exist, and they don't have to call themselves or their friends out for doing them, right? If they call people out for saying the N-word, if they go, hey, don't say that, that's doing their part. It would be really uncomfortable for them to have to learn about the way that white supremacy exists in our society. And they don't want to be uncomfortable. Don't make them uncomfortable. Don't fight white supremacy. They're going to hate it. And this isn't an excuse at all, but this binary view of racism isn't helpful and it's not productive to think that like everyone who's racist knows it and says like, I hate minorities. It almost views it in the same lens that they view it. Racism is never okay on any level, but it isn't a binary thing. It's not lacking in nuance. Like there is a lot of nuance. There's no justification, but there are different types of racists. There are different understandings of racism, and to not acknowledge that does us all a disservice.
And I think that creator summed it up perfectly because a lot of people just truly don't understand exactly what racism is. And they think that because they don't run around saying the N-word, hard R, and wearing a Klan's hood and killing minorities, that makes them not racist. You could have sex with black people and you can have a child with a black man and still be racist. You could work with and get money with black people and still be racist. You could vote for Kamala and still be racist. There's been a lot of things coming up recently with some of these liberals and some issues with liberals in the whole situation because, quite frankly, when you break down by definition, a lot of liberals, while they are left-leaning, they are trying to fix things, but they're trying to fix things while still keeping them within the way the system currently works with capitalism. You know, they're not trying to break down the whole system and rebuild and start over. They're trying to fix things within under the umbrella of capitalism. And quite frankly, capitalism is also a part of white supremacy. And I just don't think a lot of people realize that, and there's a lot of people who are going around and they work with black people and they are intimate with black people and they're friends with black people and they are just fucking racist. You know, it is sad, and it's part of the reason why we, as the people who are fighting racism, we're trying to, introduce critical race theory and trying to just help people understand how the system is designed in America and how it's all built on racism and how it's all built on white supremacy. But unfortunately, America pulled their racist card again and weren't so confident in a woman again, a black woman in this, instance, but, showed their misogyny also and just didn't want a woman in power. And as a result, we have Trump and the Trump administration in the office doing everything that they can to strip away any and all things that are diverse and to take America back to its white roots. And, in my heart of hearts, I have a hard time believing that things will get as bad as they were back in Nazi Germany. Like, I have a hard time wrapping my brain around that America, with as big and powerful and how long it's been around, I have a hard time believing it could go that far back, though it's not impossible. But I think more so what is concerning is everything that has been happening as of late. And again, we're barely a fucking over 100 days, however many months we're into this situation with him being in office. We still got another 3.5 years to go through with this. So I think if this is not checked, if this is not stopped soon, we will not recognize America 4 years from now, and the damage that has been done may not be fixed within our lifetime.